Welcome to Young and Victorious. We're joined by a 27-year-old young woman today named Jeannie Ortega. Although Jeannie is now living her dream in the pop music industry, it wasn't always that way. Jeannie struggled with thoughts of suicide and anger, and she's here to share her story with us today. Jeannie, welcome to Young and Victorious. It's so great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
So, Jeannie, how old were you when you were struggling with thoughts of suicide and anger, and what were the circumstances in your life at that time?
The first time that I kind of had thoughts of suicide, I was 7 years old. I grew up I have loving parents, but unfortunately, alcohol was in the picture. My dad struggled a lot with it, and tempers would flare, and it would cause these huge blowouts in my house. And as a 7-year-old little girl, I just thought that they were all my fault. I always blamed myself for not being able to help the situation or stop daddy from being mad at mommy or mommy from being mad at daddy. And my solution was to take myself out of the scenario. So I was 7 years old.
So when you say take yourself out of the scenario, what do you mean? What did you do?
Well, I contemplated, I guess it's funny because how does a 7-year-old know what suicide is? Well, I guess I was watching stuff on TV and you would see, it's funny that I even bring that up because TV and visual and even what you hear is so influential. And at that age, I guess I had seen scenes of young girls cutting themselves and killing themselves. And that's kind of what I thought of doing. I was in the shower or the tub one day and I was crying, and I was always crying, every time I had alone time, I was always crying, and I knew there was a God somewhere, and I would cry out to him, and I felt like if I just cut myself, and it'll all be over, and I won't be here, and maybe they'll stop, maybe that'll help bring them together.
Wow. That's really amazing because I think that a lot of young women or a lot of young girls feel that way. And I mean, my gosh, you were so young. So, Jeannie, you ran away from your problems as you got older and you fell into the arms of the pop music industry. And you said that you ended up losing everything. Tell us what happened.
I realized the power that music had because I'd thrown in a Mariah Carey cassette tape back in the day. And there was a particular song that she had, and truthfully, I don't even know if I understood what she was saying, but the sentiment behind it, the passion and the heart behind it, I began to weep and weep and weep. And after I started crying, I felt better. So I realized music had this magical power to help people. And I told my dad at the time, I said, I think I want to do music for the rest of my life because I had no idea that music could help change people's moods. And I wanted to help little girls like myself feel better. And that really was my heart. And my dad thought I was just a little girl with a crazy dream. So he's just like, all right, well, if you want to do that, then you have to learn how to write. He smacked a notepad in front of my face and he said, you have to write. So I wrote my first song at 8 years old. And then from the age of 8 to 11, I just kind of developed the craft. I don't even know if I was able to sing back then. I just wanted to. And I would write songs, and my dad was very influential and instrumental at that point to just push me. And by the age of 11, I kind of ran across some managers, and they weren't really managers. They were con artists, really. And my dad didn't know any better either, so we were throwing money at these people, just help her. My dad's like, I can't believe she still wants to do this. I just thought it was a crazy dream. And so from the age of 11 to 13, I was with these fake managers, and oddly enough, in the midst of everything, we started to realize this wasn't going anywhere. I was sitting in a cab, singing along to the radio, and the cab driver happened to be a limo driver. And when he pulls up to my house, he's just like, you're young, you're beautiful, you can sing. Have you ever done music? Do you have a demo? Because I'm a limo driver. I drive around famous people all the time. So I said, yeah, of course. Hold on. I'm coming right now. So I ran upstairs. I grabbed my karaoke cassette tape. I brought it to him, and And then a week later, I get a call from this major manager in the industry, and she said, I don't know what possessed me to call you, but something had me call you, and I want to meet with you and your family. And from the ages of 13 to 16, I was developing. I basically came across one of the hugest producers in pop music today. At the age of 16, I was signed to Hollywood Records. They're under Disney, and I was kind of like the bad girl in Disney, you know. And from 16 to 19, I toured, and I became, you know, this, you know, I guess on a minor scale, this pop star, and I had success. I toured with Rihanna, and then I found Jesus. And the more vocal that I was about Jesus, the less they wanted me to talk.
Wow.
And that's how I lost it all.
Did they let you go after that?
Yeah, once I was introduced to Jesus in the way that, you know, he really revolutionized my life and just changed it in my heart, and the anger and all the, because I dealt with suicidal thoughts even throughout everything. Around the age of 16, when I got signed, it was miraculous because it was like God had his hand on my life. I was invited to a Christian church, and it was the first time that I really gave my heart and my life to Jesus. I confessed it. I felt the presence of the Spirit of God. I began to weep and weep and weep. The years of pain and anger, it was just coming out of me. It was amazing. I had a true experience with God. And so I had that. And throughout everything, I mean, I was still kind of this bad girl. I had a lot of junk, and I wasn't willing to give up that persona yet, not even for God. And at that point, I didn't even know he wanted me to be honest. I didn't know anything about him. So I started on that journey, and around the age of 19 is when things started to get a little more real for me. I had been going to this Christian church faithfully as much as I could when I was in town. You know, it was times I was doing club dates on Saturday, and I would leave the club at 5 in the morning, and I would wake myself up at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, however, I don't remember the time, to go to church the next day. It was just something that I had to do, and I was totally falling in love with Jesus every time, more and more. And then I started to feel that conviction, like, you know, the clothes thing, though, I will tell you, I used to be half naked all the time. That took a long time before that was fixed. But having sex before marriage, that was a big one for me. I'd been engaged with someone very young, a rapper, tough dude, and I thought he was going to be my husband, so I gave in. I actually was a good girl, though. I saved myself for a long time, and then when I was engaged, I figured, well, I'm engaged, so I might as well, you know. But I was feeling the conviction, and then I was always cursing. Like, I just could not help but drop F-bombs here and there, and I mean, all the time. It was worse. It was like a truck driver married to a sailor, and I was their love child. So those things started to I started to feel like I needed to change. You know, was I really being an example of God? You know, the holy God that I now serve. And for years I struggled with that aspect of it. But I had built my empire to the point where it was doing so well, I wasn't willing to give it up for God yet until I lost it all.
And how old were you at that point, Jeannie?
That struggle happened from the age of 16 to 19, but 19 is when it really started to become real to me.
Is that when that was a turning point in your life?
It happened really when I was 21. Okay. So from 19 to 21 is when I kind of struggled with, how do I please God, maintain this empire that I've built, this Jeannie Ortega empire, and, you know, still be that bad girl from Brooklyn or whatever on Hollywood with all this fame.
Where the Lord's taking you, He's got you making such a difference already. Your videos are slamming. I'm telling you, I've watched them, and I'm in awe of what the Lord is doing in your life. So, Jeannie, you're certainly living your dream now, and you're married to an awesome man of God. Yeah. You have an awesome music career with amazing videos, and you're also an actress. What advice would you give to the young person watching right now who has a dream but maybe they don't know where to begin, and maybe they're struggling with thoughts of suicide or anger like you did in the past.
I think it's very important for people to know what it is they're supposed to do with their gift. For years, I thought building the Jeannie Ortega empire was why I had this gift. You know, I started out wanting to help girls, but then it became more about me trying to sell myself as a product. And I forgot about the humanity side of things. I really did. And when you do that, you don't fulfill the goal that you set out anyway, the God-given dream or whatever it is that God has for you to do. So I think it's very important, first and foremost, to spend time getting to know who you are in God. Because if you don't know that, you're going to continuously try to make yourself, reinvent yourself into something that is not really a fit for you. And that can be very frustrating, time-consuming. You waste a lot of your life and a lot of your time doing the wrong thing. The awesome thing about God is that He's not afraid to prove Himself to us. You know, I guess I was very tough, you know, and it was hard for, I think, anything to pass. I just had this shell up growing up in, you know, the way that I did. So when I was first introduced to this Jesus in a whole nother way, not in a, you know, I was Catholic and not in a kind of like, oh, just, you know, He's there and just say your prayers when you do something wrong. You know, and that's to say that everyone in the Catholic Church does that, but my experience was like that. So when I was introduced to Jesus in a whole nother way, in a tangible way, for me, it was just like, well, God, I don't care what this pastor says. I don't care what my friend is saying. I need to hear from you. It was almost like I did test Him. You know, I wanted that experience. If you're real, show yourself real to me. And God does that. You know, what happens is sometimes we don't want to know, so we don't go that far to ask Him. You know, as I did that, as I sought Him, He began to show me how He was there throughout my life the entire time. It's like my eyes were open to a God that never abandoned me and never deserted me. And then I felt that experience where He touched it wasn't this emotional thing. It was the inner man, in the depths of my soul. I knew He was there. And it's because I challenged that. I said, God, if you're really there, I need you to talk to me right now because I'm going to do something stupid. You know, it's either you talk to me or I make my own decision. And He did. And I do not have any reservation. I don't have any fear at all that if a young girl or anyone out there challenges God in that way or you know, really seeks Him, He says, seek and you'll find me. You know, knock and He'll answer. That He won't. I believe that He will. So that is my advice. Seek Him. Spend time. What happens is that we don't do it. Sometimes we're just like, oh, let me try this God thing. And then you try for a second and then your phone rings. Oh, let me check my Instagram. And you get distracted. Spend that time because you know what? Your life depends on it. How your life, the path that you go on depends on you seeking God and really knowing who you are in Him. Because let me tell you something. You can try it your way 1,000,000 times. I did for years. But it's not until you find what it is that He has given you that gift for and what it is in the woman or the man that you are in Him that it will start to really work and make sense and lead to a place of continual. You see, what happens is we chase temporary satisfaction. In Christ, there's that continual, it's lasting, it's joy, it's not happiness. You know what I mean? It's continual. And yeah, life still happens, hurt still happen, pain still happen, but with God, there's a hope and it will keep you forever, really.
Jeannie, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today, to talk to us today, to inspire us today. You've been watching Young and Victorious with Jeannie Ortega. Be sure to visit Jeannie's website at www.jeannieo.com. Check out her music videos and like her page on Facebook. Share her videos with your friends and be sure to visit her website often. Thanks for watching Young and Victorious, and remember, you've got a dream inside of you and God will fulfill that dream in your life as you seek Him. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.